So the Sonic Frontiers Update 3 came out a few days ago, and it is a very mixed bag. I'll signal when the spoilers start with a note on screen, as well as a timestamp, so if you haven't beat the DLC yet, you'll be okay. But before we get started, make sure you sub to the channel with the bell on to stay up to date when new videos release. Let's get into my review of the new Sonic Frontiers Update 3. Starting off with the most important piece of the puzzle, let's talk about the new playable characters. This is where the bulk of the new content is, so obviously Sonic Team spent the most of their time here, right? Right? No. The first character we play as is Amy, who's somehow the best out of the three. Her jump is really high, and she's about as fast as Sonic, and she can even glide with her tarot cards. The reliance on the tarot cards is a whole other issue, but I'll talk about that in a moment. Let's get on to another issue. Once you start playing as Amy, you'll realize that you have no means of attacking besides the basic homing attack, which is just, why? Why do you have to unlock literally every offensive move? I get having to unlock specialty moves, but is having to unlock Amy's hammer really necessary? All three characters are like this too, not just Amy. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, most of Amy's moveset revolves around using tarot cards to attack, glide, or even stomp. I was personally never a fan of that part of her character, as it seems kinda forced. Outside of old game manuals, she never used tarot cards in the games. And while I do appreciate them trying to flesh out Amy's character, this wasn't the way to do it. It feels about as shallow as her being obsessed with Sonic 20 plus years ago. Back to the actual game though, the way you progress through the game is by doing small platform challenges around the island, getting skill points from doing such, and then unlocking a move you need to find a Chaos Emerald or whatever trinket the game has you interacting with. It's a fairly simple concept, but it works well for the most part. The platforming challenges can be trivialized if you get enough height, since you can glide over basically all of it, which I'm sure was totally intentional. Let's go on to Knuckles next, and man, they really massacred my boy here. If you had told me somebody recreated Sonic Frontiers in Adventure 2, I would have fully believed you. He controls terribly, arguably even worse than in Adventure 2, because there you could at least turn around easily. With this Knuckles, you have a delay of around 3/4 of a second before you actually start gliding, which on paper doesn't sound bad, but during gameplay it halts any kind of flow you might have had. His turning radius is about as wide as a semi-truck, and he can only climb on designated walls, making one of his defining characteristics null and void. I don't like Adventure 2 much, but after playing as Knuckles in Frontiers, I can finally appreciate his gameplay in Adventure 2, so I guess that's one thing this DLC was good for. And last, but most certainly not least, we have Tails. Tails is a mistake. Tails was a mistake. Instead of evolving his gameplay from Adventure 1, they just said, let's do that, but again. Maybe Tails in this game was the Adventure 1 remake all along, and the reason why I say this is because his flight is terrible, arguably doesn't even count as flight, his combat skills are trash, not to mention he can't even homing attack. You heard me right, Tails cannot homing attack onto anything. Not on springs, not on enemies, nothing. Instead, you get this dumb wrench attack that's basically just a quicker and weaker version of the dummy ring bomb from 06, and that's about it. You can unlock the tornado, which is pretty cool, but it requires so many points that I didn't even bother unlocking it. And you may think that Tails not having a homing attack isn't so bad, but this makes all of the platforming challenges in Aranos infinitely harder because they all rely on springs or balloons to put you in the right direction, but Tails can't interact with any of that. Thankfully, Tails has his own platforming challenges that aren't so bad, but they can be hard as hell to actually find. Just look at this pop-in. How in God's name has this not been fixed, and how do they make it worse? There's one point in Tails' second act where you need to get up to a platform high in the sky, but the pop-in is so bad to the point where there's literally nothing up there until you do the platforming challenge, where then it actually loads. But after you play as the three newcomers, you go back to Sonic and face these trials. The trials are where most of the hatred for the new update comes from, as they actively kick you while you're down. The way you access these trials is by platforming up a tower to reach them, but the platforming feels like it was designed for another Sonic game and just kinda dropped into Frontiers. The physics are fighting you the entire time, at least to me. If you've played Frontiers for hours upon hours and are used to its quirks, you can probably get by no problem, but most of the people I talked to were having trouble from the jump. That first tower is terrible, but the rest of them are mostly manageable. The first trial consists of beating up some enemies, which is no problem. You may need to try a couple times, but that's no biggie. But the second trial, oh my god, it's bad. I was in a VC with about 5 other Sonic tubers, all of whom were struggling with this trial. Matt Has No Cuts literally had to show us how to do it within the time limit because what we were trying to do was not working. And after he showed me, I had to make a tutorial to show others because Matt was tired of explaining how to do it. And I guess 600 other people had trouble with it too. Goes to show that it wasn't really fairly designed. And it's funny because the 3rd and 4th trials are total cakewalks, especially the 4th. Literally all you have to do is beat up a ninja and they give you 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure I beat it in 2. The balancing in this update is all over the place, and I'm fully convinced that no one play tested this besides Kishimoto, because most anybody could tell you that this needed some work. The 5th trial is where the game really falls into madness, as they want you to beat all 3 titans with just 400 rings, which is absolutely impossible without abusing the quick side loop and stomp. But the game sure as hell doesn't tell you that, not to mention that the game forces you to use the perfect parry, which basically fixes the baby mode parry from the original game. I like that they tried this, but the issue is that the game was not designed for such a strict parry in these boss fights, making them more difficult than in the base game, especially Wyvern. I can appreciate them trying to improve parts that people complained about, but not like this. I like the Titan fights, so I initially didn't really mind this as a trial, but once I thought about it, this is going to absolutely suck for people who aren't playing on PC with save data mods. And the reason why I say that is because you need to have practice with these titans, which you cannot do in the base game without any modifications. Otherwise, you'll keep dying until you brute force your way through. But after those grueling trials, you're rewarded with an overhauled final boss fight. And while it's better than the original, I do have some gripes with it. For one, the original Supreme fight hasn't changed at all, which is annoying because I don't think it's very good. Second, the game hardly explains what you need to do to actually defeat the end. Basically, you need to knock the umbilical cord loose from Supreme's neck, which is difficult to do when the game's lock-on system barely wants to, and then you need to quick side loop the gun on his back so Eggman can use it to shoot you at the end. The game tells you none of that, and if you keep attacking Supreme instead of doing what it expects, the game gives you this snarky ass comment disguised as a tip. Again, I can appreciate the fact that they overhauled the original boss fight, but I think some more direct tips would have helped. I also completely forgot to mention cyberspace, which is also a mixed bag. Some of the levels are pretty good, and then some are downright horrendous. Could have done without it, honestly. The one saving grace for this update is the music, as all the new tracks are amazing, especially Kellen Quinn coming back to sing I'm Here for the new boss fight. It's a banger. So how do I feel about the update as a whole? Well, I can certainly appreciate the effort placed into it, as they did not have to overhaul Aranos Island at all. The issue is that the effort was misplaced. They really didn't need to do all the things they did, especially since most of it feels either half-baked or straight up bad. We didn't need new platforming challenges that make pop-in worse and are also completely skippable. We didn't need the game to have a significant difficulty spike without any build-up. We didn't need this update at all in reality. For me to be happy, they should have just overhauled the final boss, maybe spread the platforming challenges across Rhea and Aranos, as well as making them feel more cohesive and actually part of the island, as opposed to the floating platforms in the sky. And they should have just let us play as every character on every island. I appreciate the effort, but this was not it for me. And of course, Sonic Twitter is on their bullshit again, as anyone criticizing the difficulty of the update is being harassed with skill issue and the like. And it's honestly sad that people feel the need to put others down just because the other person doesn't think something is difficult. We need to be better as a community regarding stuff like this. So what do you guys think about Update 3? Is it too hard? Too easy? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to join, I've got a Discord server where we hang out and talk about games, and if you want to financially support me, I have a Patreon and YouTube membership. And before I go, I want to thank Aja Crystal for her $2 Patreon pledge. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.